So hi, my name is Tluczek. I am the ex-Steward Experience Events Coordinator for Lunch and Learn. I am now the new assistant to our new Lunch and Learn coordinator, my lovely wife, Max. So I'm going to turn it over to her and let's see if she's spotlighted. I think.
And there I am.
And we see you back.
Okay, hi, welcome everyone. As always, it's a pleasure to be together. This is our final Lunch and Learn of 2021. We've had more than 20 sessions, and now we're very busy setting our schedule for 2022. Be sure to sign up on Better Impact for our in-person social seminar on January 15th at the Homestead at DC Ranch because space is limited. We're going to gather about 1 o'clock, spend time socializing, and then hearing from the very knowledgeable, very engaging and entertaining John Wesser, professor of biology for Scottsdale Community College, as he talks about myth conceptions, fun, quick facts to make us even smarter so we can share accurate information with guests of the preserve. Here's a sneak peek at some of the upcoming Lunch and Learn programs now available for sign up on Better Impact. On January 27th, we're going to have a visit from our old friend Jacques Girard, directly from the Great White North, as he teaches us about biomimicry. On February 10th, Eric Filsinger will tell us all about rock climbing in the preserve. And on February 24th, our own citizen scientists will share the results of their bat and butterfly project. This just in, as of about an hour ago, David Ramirez, Community Wildfire Mitigation Coordinator for Scottsdale, is going to tell us about risk reduction and what we can do to protect our Sonoran Desert, as well as our personal property. Stay tuned and keep an eye on Better Impact because there's lots more to come. Now, today, I'd like to welcome our speaker, Melanie Tluczek. Melanie holds a master's degree in wildlife ecology from ASU and has spent the past 15 years working in various natural resource management roles in Arizona. Her nonprofit development and management experience includes building successful science-based programs, volunteer management, fundraising, strategic planning, and board development. Melanie started working for the Conservancy in 2012 as the research coordinator, developing the Field Institute and our citizen science program. In 2017, she took a position as the executive director of the Gila Watershed Partnership, an environmental nonprofit. We are delighted to now be able to welcome Melanie back to the Conservancy as Director of Science and Education. When she's not working, Melanie enjoys spending time with her 11-year-old daughter, gardening, hiking, reading, and just spending time in the outdoors. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll try to get to all of them. But right now, let's welcome Melanie and take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Max and Steve. That was a wonderful welcome, and thank you all for being here. I can't say how excited I am to be back with the Conservancy. My time with the Gila Watershed Partnership was a wonderful, wonderful learning and leadership development experience. But one of the things that really drew me back to the Conservancy was a new focus on raising the profile of our science and education, both locally and regionally, and reaching outside of the preserve to be as inclusive as possible. And those two things, you know, those are very close to my heart. And I was just very excited about the opportunity and glad to be back. So let's see, let me pull up my presentation. All right. And I'm going to be doing a little bit of, okay, can everybody see that? Okay, I see some heads nodding. Let me see if I can get the slides. There we go. Okay, accidentally muted myself there. I'm going to be toggling back and forth between the presentation and an online learning tool at first. So hopefully that will work. It's my first time doing that. But this presentation is titled Science and Education Better Together, like peanut butter and jelly on the little mug right there. Understanding why we care. So if you know me, you know that my background is science. It's a great love of mine, and the other love is sharing science in the form of education. So I thought that I would put you all to work today doing a little bit of data collection. And I've got an online tool that will help us get at this question. What words come to mind when you think of education at the MacDowell-Sonoran Conservancy? So let's see if we can get this to work. All right, I'm going to switch over, and this is like an online assessment tool. Can everybody see the blue screen with the question? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing real quick, and then I'm going to reshare so that we can see this. What you're going to see, okay, can everybody see the blue screen with the QR code? Okay, great. So what I'm going to ask you to do is take your phone, turn the camera on. All you got to do is bring up the camera and then just point it at that QR code right there. And you should be brought to a website that says QRSLIDO. Just click on that. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to do that. And what this is a word cloud. So you're going to be brought to a question. It says, what words come to mind when you think about education? There we go, at the MacDowell-Sonoran Conservancy. You can enter multiple words. So I'm going to give everybody 1 to 2 minutes. We'll see how much we need. Okay. And the more of these words we get up, okay, good. That looks great. That's what I like to see. Okay. You can put as many as you want in. Ooh, there we go. I hope that's not one person putting in flora over and over again.
That would typically be the case.
Okay, I'll give it a little bit more time. There we go. Now somebody put in hiking over and over again.
I came home with a dead phone, so mine's being charged.
Ah. Okay, I'll give it 15 more seconds. Okay. So this is kind of a neat way to just gather people's thoughts. And I'm going to go ahead and take a picture of this or a screenshot and make sure that I save it. I'm also going to take a picture because I don't trust technology.
Aren't you taking the picture with your phone?
I am, yeah. So, okay. So now we're going to do another one. All right, we're done with that one.
Yeah.
Now the next one is, what words come to mind when you think of science at the Conservancy? So this one is science. Go ahead and rescan because it's a separate QR code. So go ahead and get out of that one, and then there you go. Scan the one that's on the screen right now and start your answers. Okay, give it about 30 more seconds. This is a great way to make your audience work for you, huh?
I was going to say, I thought you were doing the presentation. Tricky, tricky. I got to remember this.
Yeah, it's actually hard not to talk to fill the silence. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and stop that one. I'm going to take a picture.
Really cool.
And I got one more for you. Whoops. That's my alarm. Okay. Last one. What words come to mind when you think of diversity at the Conservancy? Go ahead and scan the QR code since it's a different survey. And go ahead and start. I'm given 2 minutes for this or 2 minutes for this one as well. Okay, about 30 more seconds on this one. Okay, so get your last answers in. And go ahead and take a picture. Turn my alarm off. Okay, well, thank you guys all for participating in those. Let me stop sharing and head back to the presentation. So you might be wondering, what all three of those things have in common in this presentation. And we're going to get to that. So, whoops. There we go. Okay. So why is combining science and education important? And that's in the title of the presentation. And so I thought I'd kind of open with that. The mission statement of the Conservancy is to preserve and advance natural open space through science, education, and stewardship. So both science and education are in our mission statement. And then if we go back to the preserve ordinance, the goal of the preserve for the land is for the land to be sustained in perpetuity for everyone to enjoy. So that's like the most basic goal. But in order for the preserve to remain in perpetuity, we know that it must be valued and therefore be of value to everyone. The Conservancy is a unique resource for sharing field-based science and developing science-based education, among many other things. But we really hold a very unique space in having an extremely strong citizen science program and extremely strong science programs that are leading the way for a lot of other organizations in the area in invasive species, restoration, documentation of plants and animals, many of those things. So we want to share that unique resource. We want to share it through our expertise and make sure that it's reaching broad, diverse audiences because as we know, the preserve could be taken away at some point. We have the ordinance protecting it, but it's in existence due to the votes of people of Scottsdale, and that could change in the future if it's not, broadly understood as valuable. So just a little bit about this is kind of preaching to the choir. I know everybody here knows why the preserve is valuable, but just as a kind of a review, it connects a lot of open space in the area. So right here, you see a map where there's the preserve land, there's the regional park, there's Tonto National Forest with 3 million acres, and the preserve is this critical corridor connecting all of that. And we know how important corridors are. It's also incredibly diverse, and a lot of this owes to the large land mass. When you break up habitat into smaller land masses, it becomes less diverse. So preserving the preserve as this large thing has created a place that can host 4 different amphibian species, which is quite a big deal in the desert, 185 bird species, 339 different types of invertebrates, 39 different mammal species, 32 reptile species, and 417 plant types that include subspecies and varieties, and that is pretty incredible. It's very geologically diverse too, with over 85 different distinct rocks and 24 distinct soil types. So, this is a very valuable resource. So why combine science and education? One of the reasons is because we need to do more to reach the next generation. And that next generation is, they're going to be voting, they're going to be in charge of making sure that the preserve remains where it is and in the state that it is into perpetuity. So one of the things that I wanted to show you first off is kind of a big picture of how we're conceptualizing combining science and education in order to start really reaching outside the areas surrounding the preserve boundaries and reaching, outside of our organization more so. I'm going to talk about some of the things that we already do and then some of the things that we're going to do to build on that. So I think some of you remember a long time ago, I created this graphic with the mountain showing the Parsons Field Institute inside the mountain. You know, the mountain was the McDowell Sonoran Conservancy, and then the citizen science program inside the Parsons Field Institute to show how they're all nested and part of the same organization. Well, what we've done here is expanded that to include the education program. And that really is meant to show you how the two work together and intersect. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit. If any of you are graphic designers and are wincing right now, please send me an email. I would love to have your help on this. I am not a graphic designer, so I kind of threw this together, but it's, you know, intended to show you the intersection of these programs. So we've got the Parsons Field Institute, obviously part of the overall Conservancy. And the citizen science program is the steward program that carries out a lot of the work of the Parsons Field Institute. With the education program, that's a little bit different because we have an education program, but then we also have education, you know, being served to the public in many other ways, like in the hike and bike and tour program with the nature guides, with the Pathfinder lectures, you know, with things like that. But a couple of years ago, a group of stewards realized that we need to kind of consolidate a lot of what we're teaching the public and streamline it so that we're giving similar messages. So that's the purpose of the education program, is to really take our different educational offerings that we do already and streamline them and make sure that that we have some kind of cohesive messages. So the education program is a program within that helps develop that curricula and then works with other programs to help link with what they're doing. So it's kind of like a spoken wheel sort of model. And in the middle, you can see I've got something labeled the Science and Education Project. And that is a project that we're starting to create that will bring together people from the Parsons Field Institute, including staff and stewards, people from the education, including staff and stewards, and possibly some people from some, you know, science education experts from ASU or other partners that can assist. And the sole purpose is to take our science and translate that into education modules and education offerings. So where does this sit in the strategic plan? You know, where does this sit in sort of the big picture of the Conservancy? Well, I think you're all aware that we have a strategic plan and that it has a number of high-level initiatives for the steward program, for development, for science, and for education. And so I took all those high-level initiatives and kind of mapped them out in this Venn diagram that shows you that the research, you know, scientific research has sort of its own high-level initiatives, and then it has one that intersects directly with education. And the same with education is and those that intersect is kind of where that science and education work is going to be done. So with science, it's make research understandable and accessible to the general community, from children to adult learners. So that means infusing it in our current programs and also building new programs to reach more members of the public in terms of adults and also K through 12. And then with education, it's engage underrepresented communities to provide an opportunity for everyone to become environmental stewards. And so this is really the vehicle through which we're going to be able to become a more inclusive organization, is through this education and this initiative. So you can think about it as kind of, there we go. We have our science that we're doing, and we do an excellent job of it. Education is sort of the vehicle to achieving science for everyone, nature for everyone, and the preserve to be accessible to everyone, and the opportunities that we have as stewards to be accessible to everyone. So you might ask, what are we already doing? Because we want to build on what we do. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. Well, our citizen science program has become a very strong program over the years and very well run and organized. And I have to say that my experience working for the Conservancy and building the citizen science program was a huge, huge career opportunity and leadership learning opportunity for me. And as I was going through it, one of the things that I had kind of in the back of my head is that the opportunity to work alongside stewards with such incredible experience, you know, in the world, in their careers, in their professional lives, really gave me this big career bump. And what if that was available to more people? You know, I mean, I almost thought of it as, you know, in the McDowell Sonoran Conservancy Leadership Institute is the way I kind of thought about it for myself. What if we had opportunities to share that more broadly? The Field Institute translates its work into conservation action, and I took some of these slides right out of their intro. By engaging the public and educating the public, increasing the understanding of the desert and our place in it, and inspiring positive actions and stewardship. We do this through lectures, through work with education on expedition days. There is, you know, other information that I think this looks like a pathfinder, but I think the thought was, you know, giving out information to visitors and working with, here we have I think a nature guide who's working on expedition days. So building those kids, or building into those kids programs and adult education. And then sharing with the scientific community. This is a picture of one of the symposia that we've had, arid land symposia throughout the years. So that's one way that we contribute scientific knowledge and best practices. Also by sitting on boards and committees, you know, of different organizations around the Valley, where we share ideas with other conservation organizations. And then I added provide early career opportunities, or provide opportunities for early career conservationists. And we've done that through inviting college students to come and present their research at our symposia. So there's a couple of things that we're doing already that's coming from science, you know, to the public via some kind of an education vehicle. We also coordinate with preserve staff and other entities to guide management decisions. That's the focus of a lot of our research, and to impact future practices. And we work with a lot of different partners. So what are we doing on the education side? Well, expedition days started as a kind of a Field Institute thing and quickly morphed over to education. And over the past 2 years, the staff was able to actually translate everything that was done in expedition days to the Arizona science curricula. And what does that mean? That means that teachers, when they bring their kids to expedition days, actually get to check some things off the list, and those are lessons that they don't have to do in class. So expedition days gives the teachers a little bit of a break and gives the kids a fun hands-on experience. And that's really, really important for teachers, because so many people have so many ideas, you know, about what they should do and what would be fun for them to do. They're going to do the things that will also help them in their lesson plans. So that's really a big thing that we were able to link that. Expedition Days Online was created last year in response to COVID. And that actually brought our lesson plans out to an even broader audience. We went from about 600 kids that were coming through Expedition Days Live to about over 2,000 kids that were going through Expedition Days Online. So that's really great. And then another thing that we're doing that we've just started is working with a cohort of Scottsdale teachers. And they are taking, I think it's going to end up being our phonology project, and developing lesson plans around that, so that they will take back to their classes, and then eventually take their classes out to do data collection with us. So that's kind of reaching into something with a little bit older students that are actually able to participate in a scientific study and then see their data, in with the data that the stewards collect, and, in with the national database. So that's really, really cool. And those are some things that we're already doing. And then also we have the education program that is, as I mentioned before, bringing together all of the education modules that we have offered throughout the Conservancy, and developing them around themes, which is really, really incredibly helpful. And then we have our our Pathfinder lecture series, our natural history lecture series, things like that. So what are some of the things that will be coming up? I want to give a little caveat. I've been here part-time for about 4 months now. So we are just starting to heat up in terms of like making our plans for what we're going to do to really advance these programs. And here's a couple of broad categories that we know, are going to happen. One is paid high school internships. One of the biggest barriers to students, especially from disadvantaged backgrounds, in participating with conservation or environmentalism, is the fact that if you don't have the money to, be a high school student and just a high school student and volunteer, it's very difficult to break into this field. Like, this is not an easy field to break into. If you are a student who has to work to help support your family, those opportunities are not available to you. So one of the best and most powerful ways that we can engage students from disadvantaged backgrounds is to pay them to come and do work with our organization. So this is actually in the strategic plan, is developing these internships. And I'm really excited about it, because that's going to be something, again, at that nexus of science and education, where we're going to be able to co-develop those internship programs. And I would also love to see them, our interns, sit in on the CLT and our board meetings and really, get a sense of that same leadership opportunity that I had when I joined the Conservancy. More volunteer opportunities for non-stewards or people who, are working during the week. This is something that our new program manager is going to have under his purview, and that we will be working with him on. So more Saturday type things or evening type things, things that don't require a lot of training, we'll be able to kind of section out and engage people that, are still working and have young kids, things like that. What I'm calling the Science and Education Project, which I will explain in a little bit more detail in a bit, and a continuing effort to link educational offerings to Arizona science standards for K through 12 education, so that we can continue getting those teachers in, giving them a break so that they're able to bring their students, and making those educational offerings relevant to each of the different grade levels. So a little bit about the Science and Education Project. We're going back to this. This we envision as a committee that is going to move forward with really one goal, and that is to take our scientific results and the things that we've learned and translate them into educational offerings. So I think I said that before, but I really want to impress that upon you, because this is going to be key to really developing education that is very impactful. We have a lot of good things going to build on, but we need sort of outside perspective. We need diverse perspective in order to make it relevant to teachers, to people who have never been involved in the Conservancy before, to people who may not see themselves represented in conservation and may say, well, that's just for rich people, or that's just for people in Scottsdale. Like, no, this resource is for everyone. Science is for everyone. So that committee is going to be incredibly important. And when I turn to the slide of what can you do to become involved, if you feel that you can add something to that committee, even if it's just, hey, maybe you worked as a teacher and you saw programs that didn't work and want to share that. So we, can be on the right track. Or maybe you, worked with kids in another facet, foster care or something like that, and you want to offer that perspective. Make sure to contact me after this presentation, and we would love to have you on that committee. Another thing that you can do right away is to get involved with expedition days. And I put that up at the top because that's our most immediate need. Last year, like I said, we did expedition days online, and it was only online because of COVID. This year, with the vaccination rates up, we're still watching it, but we are planning towards having both online and in person for expedition days. If things look really bad and the teachers are not comfortable, we will cancel the in-person one, but we are planning towards it as of now. It's, I think it's going to be, most likely it'll be fine because it's outside. We're reducing the number of tables so that we can distance more easily. We're going to be Lysoling everything in between, sets of kids. So we'll be able to control things a little bit. But that is going to be a really big thing. And we got funding to expand it from 3 days to 5 so that we can involve 4th graders. We will need people to help with everything from, talking to the kids at a table, if that's something, if you've got like experience as a nature guide or, some educational background or just a desire to share something that or, if you want to help out and you don't necessarily want to be talking, we'll need people to help guide the groups of kids around with the teachers, be sweeps, things like that. So people to set up and tear down, lots and lots of hands. So if you have an interest, we can use you somewhere. So let me know. And then take every opportunity you can to learn about the preserve through every experience you can, with the Conservancy. Take Sonoran Desert 101, go on discovery hike and bike tours, attend the lecture series, the natural history and the Pathfinder lecture series, and then involve yourself in the citizen science program, because that is the best way to learn. And what we're going to see is this, kind of fluid flow of information once we get this up and running, from the science to the education and out to the public. And we'll be able to reach more people. But I really, really feel that, this educating the public, or increasing our education and increasing our inclusiveness, is critical to the survival of the preserve and the Conservancy, when we look far into the future. And it certainly is, of the environment. So thank you, everybody. Oh, I had a beautiful picture to show you at the end, but it doesn't seem to be coming up. It was a bobcat, mother and baby. There we go. I think you can see that. Thank you, everyone. And I'm happy to take questions.
Okay. Melanie, what are the dates for the expedition days?
So we're going to have the 3rd graders out on the February 24th and 25th. And then it'll be open to the public on Saturday, February the 26th.
Okay.
We're going to leave everything up and then come back on that next Monday and Tuesday, which should be late 27th, 28th, and April 1st for the 4th graders.
Has that been posted on Better Impact yet?
Not yet. We
Okay.
just solidified that yesterday,
Okay.
but we'll be posting it.
I don't know if I should voice this now, but I'm actually really concerned about I totally concur with having students and people who are in an education process already become volunteers, but the people, I don't understand, I guess I don't fully understand the whole thing of having volunteers not go through the steward process, because it just seems like that would be a real slippery slope and tricky for people to not know the safety and the way to address people. And
I think I know what you're talking about. Last year, I think for a few years, we involved non-stewards in helping with expedition days. And from what I understand, it was mostly stewards, but there were some non-stewards from, say, sponsor organizations like Intel. Yeah. I actually discussed this with our leadership yesterday, and the liability issues, and totally fine to bring this up now. I think it's better to talk about it. And what we arrived at was any non-steward, because they're not background checked, will have to be with a steward. And everything that any activity is going to be led by a steward. If, say, we ask some older Girl Scouts to come along and help teach some of the booths, each Girl Scout would be placed with the steward. And that's for safety, and it's liability, and just also that the stewards are the ones that know the preserve. You guys have all been checked out. So I think if we stick to that, then we should, that shouldn't be an issue. But I wouldn't want to see overwhelming, numbers of people from outside organizations. I would think maybe 25% people from outside and 75% stewards would be a good ratio.
yeah, okay, I understand better. Yeah, that because I was thinking if we just we're, for instance, being a Pathfinder and communicating with people and in trying to encourage people to join our McDowell Sonoran Conservancy team, it just seems like people will say, well, why do I need to join the team when I can just come and do whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And well, I mean, there's one thing to tell them is, if you join the team, you receive a lot in terms of, better understanding of the preserve. And you have access to all of those resources rather than sort of going off on your own. But yeah, with expedition days, any outside volunteers are going to be part of an organization that we work with. Anyone off the street.
Okay. I just had someone ask if you would mind repeating the dates of the expedition days so we can all mark our calendars.
Awesome. So that will be, and I'm just going to double check this on my phone. Let's see, February 24th through March 1st.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Do we have any more questions? I think we're good. Well, thank you so much for giving us a great overview and a better understanding of what we can do to help to maintain our beautiful preserve. I know that's something that's close to all of our hearts. Wonderful job, Melanie. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Melanie.
And I also just want to remind everyone to be sure to put in their hours under Steward Experience, Lunch and Learn. And even though it's under Steward Experience, it's also credit for education. So great to see everybody. Thanks so much. Don't forget to sign up for all the upcoming events, especially our in-person seminar on January 15th, and hope to see you all very soon, not in a little box on the screen, but on the trails.